They're also interrupting our water cycle by the destruction of phytoplankton. And phytoplankton naturally regulate global temperatures and make clouds. And this is something called the Claw process or Claw hypothesis. Normally, we would have warming temperatures and less clouds lead to phytoplankton growth, which means increased dimethyl sulfide cloud seeds. Increased cloud cover reflects sunlight back to space, leads to cooling. Cooler temperatures lower phytoplankton, which results in less dimethyl sulfide cloud seeds and less clouds. Finally, more sunlight hits the ground, temperatures rise, and plankton begin to grow again. So this is the way that climate change is normally regulated on our planet. Phytoplankton play a huge role in this. However, we are interrupting that process through poisoning the oceans and covering the oceans in artificial clouds. Why would the phytoplankton make clouds if they assume they already did it? And then we go on to step 2, destroy the forests. Well, forests, it turns out, trees also make cloud seeds or aerosols that create clouds. And at CERN's Cosmics Leaving Outdoor Droplets or Cloud experiment, Jasper Kirkby and company basically created clouds in a chamber and came to the conclusion that this would indicate a potentially cooler future, and the study suggests future temperatures may not rise as quickly as predicted. What it means is we don't have to fear clean air. And it really touches on the Gaia hypothesis because it's a beautiful mechanism for trees to control their environment. The reason why trees are so important is because we had climate change before. That was during the Dust Bowl. And during the Dust Bowl, we solved it by planting trees. This was something known as the Great Plains Shelter Belt, where the U.S. government planted 220 million trees in a windbreak all along the Rocky Mountains. Those trees helped cut down on erosion and fixed climate change in the 1930s. However, the shelter belt trees are now being cut down. Next up, we have destroy the bacteria. Well, bacteria actually play a huge role in creating clouds as well. There's particularly one called Pseudomonas syringae, and it's a bacteria that creates ice. And unfortunately, it also creates ice on crops. So what do? They genetically modified Pseudomonas syringae to call it Ice Minus. It was trademarked as Frostban, and it was released into the wild. Activists at the time said that it would cause more death and destruction than all the wars we ever fought. One individual alleged that modified bacteria may decrease rainfall. This is from an article by Dr. Rick Shankman called Genetically Modified Weather, the Tale of Frostban Synthetic Bacteria. Bacteria play an important role in cloud seeding and creating clouds. Recent discoveries show rain-making bacteria more efficient in forming these ice nuclei than inert particles due to their size and surface area. Ski resorts exploit this property by using attenuated bacteria for seeding of artificial snow. Wow, there's something you don't hear every day. And that's an actual picture of Pseudomonas syringae on the side over there. This bacteria plays a very important role, and it's being attacked through synthetic Ice Minus and obviously pesticides. So the increased use of pesticides are threatening this bacteria. But the biggest part of the technocrat plan to replace the water cycle is through what's called accidental geoengineering. And that's done with ship tracks as seen on Climate Viewer 3D at climateviewer.org right here, and contrails, which create cirrus clouds and alter the radiation budget of the planet, have been blamed for melting the poles. But of course, melting the poles has been a 100-year agenda. Artificial clouds. Technocrats have decided to replace natural cloud formation with technological fixes dubbed accidental geoengineering. And you can see two articles here. One from MIT Technology Review. We're about to kill a massive accidental experiment in reducing global warming. And they're referring to the upcoming ban on bunker fuel that would reduce ship tracks. And on the other side, we have airplane contrails maybe creating accidental geoengineering. So there's two cases, ship tracks and aircraft, where they just call it accidental geoengineering. Don't you know that we're not doing any of this on purpose? It's completely an accident. But anybody with a brain by now realizes that this is no longer an accident. From the Arctic Methane Emergency Group, they said, for instance, in their letter to world leaders in their Strategic Plan 2012, the regulation to ban bunker fuel for ships should be relaxed while encouraging continued use of bunker fuel where resulting aerosol emissions might be beneficial. That's not an accident. That's a let's use this because it's doing exactly what we want. This sort of pollution cools the planet, so let's continue doing it. Dr. Rangasai Halthori from the Aviation Climate Change Research Initiative, who I interviewed, said we would like to have more contrail-induced cirrus clouds during the day and none during the night. Ken Caldera, a geoengineer, said seeding is limited to high latitude winters or nighttime seeding, that they could avoid ever doing geoengineering because cirrus clouds trap heat in. This was discovered in the 9/11 groundings of all flights and followed up by a 2008 volcano where they were able to observe these planes making clouds and realize that they are trapping heat like a blanket over the planet. But regardless, that also helps the agenda of melting the Arctic, which has been the agenda all along. I have a great infographic here on what's called solar radiation management and earth radiation management. Please check out the slides later on. But that brings us to, the real crux of what technocracy is all about, and that is weather weapons and weather warfare and weather modification. And this is my 10 technologies to own the weather today slide. Weather modification has a history that started back in 1800 with pluviculture, 1946 to present with cloud seeding, followed by weather warfare using cloud seeding and geoengineering, 1994 to present. And I picked that date because that's when Lawrence Livermore National Labs and Dr. Evil decided to do the current push for weather modification. How does cloud